Some changes arrive slowly, but alter everything. Laura's vision loss unfolded over several years during her teenage life, reshaping not only what she saw in the world, but also how she understood herself within it. At first, there was denial, then grief, not just for sight, but for the simplicity of moving through a world built for people with vision. While everything in her life felt uncertain, the world around her kept operating as usual. This conversation traces that transition, from gradual loss to learning Braille, and even Braille and Spanish, from frustration to self-compassion, from asking why this happened to asking how to move forward. Laura talks about resilience, not as a trait, but as a daily choice, about gratitude that does not ignore difficulty, but grows alongside it. She reflects on becoming the first blind student to complete the Master of Divinity program at Princeton, not as a milestone of achievement, but as an exercise in self-trust and redefining what was possible. Without using any excuses, we sometimes build in for ourselves. This isn't a story about overcoming blindness. It's a conversation about navigating change with honesty, about validating emotion before taking action, and about discovering that courage is something practiced in small decisions, long after the initial shock fades. Welcome to No One is Normal, the podcast where real stories remind us that none of us are alone. You can also visit the website www.bradhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co for resources, updates, and future podcast episodes. I am Brad H. Hill, and each week we talk about the messy, the complicated, and the deeply human moments that shape us and remain in our memories. I am not here to tell anyone how to live. I am here to offer the stories, the insights that made me realize that no one is normal, including me, because healing starts when self-honesty begins. Hey Laura, thank you for coming to the show today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's jump all the way back to when you were a child. How is your childhood different from others?
So the first 8 years were fearless. I was always outside. It was that typical small town, Southern, grew up in the Southeast lifestyle. And then when I was 9, I was not diagnosed because it was so rare there wasn't a diagnosis, but I developed an extremely rare retinal eye disease. And even though the doctors noticed something was going on with my vision, then there was not like a roadmap or guidance on when I would lose my sight and how fast I would lose my sight. Fast forward to a teenager, that's when I lost all of my sight. So during the 4 years of high school, I graduated from high school with what I have now: no usable vision, very limited light perception. So it was fast in that it was over a few-year period, but it was slow in that I would lose a lot of vision and then it would plateau for a while. And then I would lose a lot of vision and then plateau for a while. So a lot of people think or just assume I woke up one day and went from perfect 20/20 to no vision. That wasn't the case. Yet it's extremely rare to lose all your vision as a teenager and not have any other health concerns.
When did it start getting really bad for you?
High school.
Like, did just kind of gradually, or did it just kind of like like sophomore, junior year, and then all of a sudden you just kind of went dark?
So no, there was never, and that's what everyone assumes. There was never a period where I just went dark. It was just major changes. Like I could read print and then I could read large print. And then I needed Braille instead of large print. And then I started, instead of just magnifying the screen on the computer, I needed a screen reader. Then there was a period where I lost my depth perception. Then there was a period where everything was just extremely blurry. Then there was a period where I could only see things super, super close up. And then there was a period where I had no vision. So light perception, but no usable vision.
When you first realized your sight would change, What was the first belief about yourself that you had to shift?
So as a teenager, my first reaction when I started to lose a significant amount of sight was denial. And the denial looked like, oh, I'm not going blind. I'm just losing a little bit of vision. Or by the time 5 or 10 years, by the time I graduate from high school, this will all be over. So I didn't really believe that. That was just survival in the moment. That denial didn't last long. And then what manifested next was the intense, intense grief that I cannot put into words, the depth of the grief. And so my mindset was, I can't, I can't, I can't. I do not have the strength to adapt every single part of my life to learn how to live without sight in a sighted world as I'm a teenage girl that just wants to be, quote, normal.
So, what was the hardest part of grieving? Not just the vision, but who you thought you would become.
No, the hardest part was knowing how easy life was with sight and then living every single day knowing how difficult life now was without sight, still with the rest of the world functioned in a sighted world. That was the
Right.
hardest part.
Yeah, that has to be tough. I've just me stumbling around in the dark. I've tripped over cats, almost killed myself. I can't imagine kind of what you had to face, and then still continue to have to face just every day.
Right,
It's got to be
right,
difficult.
right. It can't be just, that's why the level of grief can't be described.
What does real resilience feel like internally, and not just how it looks from the outside?
So first, I'm going to describe what I originally thought resilience was, and that'll make even clear why I say what resilience is now. So what I thought resilience was in those first few years, I thought being resilient meant pushing on, not validating the emotions, being positive all the time, just swallowing your feelings and just somehow pushing through and being strong, even when you didn't feel strong. Basically, ignoring all the feelings and ignoring the reality of the situation and just grin and bear it, get through it somehow. What I've realized resilience is, and what I speak on, and what I wrote in my book, and what I work with every person that I work with, is developing resiliency that acknowledges our individual heart, whatever that is for us. So, obviously, for me, that was learning to live life without sight, acknowledging the heart, acknowledging the grief, and then still choosing to move forward moment by moment. That's deep resilience.
Yeah, it seems like you really had a lot to overcome, um, and that I give you a lot of credit. You've survived this long, living with what you got going on, and you're such a, like I said, resilient person. But you're also doing things like speaking and presenting. Can you go a little bit more into that?
So, what I speak on, and that my passion for speaking and my goal in speaking is to empower others that as they go through change, which we all do, right? In our work, in corporations, just work professionally, personally, on every level, right? As we go through change, how do we use the tools of grit and how do we use the tools of gratitude in balance with each other so that we can be resilient, so that we can develop resiliency? And in the midst of that change, we don't become victim. We don't be overwhelmed and swallowed by the grief, by the loss, by the change. But so we can navigate through change while still being us in the world with meaning, with purpose. So I have to choose every day, choose that resiliency. So it wasn't a one time huge magical moment where I said, okay, world, I'm now resilient. Let's go. Let's move forward. Let's be strong. it's a daily choice. And that's a gift that we can all choose how we respond. We can't choose what happened. We can't control the circumstances, the events that happen to us in life, but we do have that choice to choose every day and even multiple times within that day how we respond to what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Um, can you share a moment you had to choose gratitude instead of bitterness?
Every day. And I say that laughing jokingly, but oh my gosh,
Right.
it's so true. Gratitude isn't easy. It's so much easier to be in that bitter, negative mindset. Sometimes that just feels better to stomp around and be bitter and angry.
Right.
But the healing choice is gratitude. So I want to start by sharing a quick story with a mentor, and that'll like resiliency, that'll set the stage for gratitude, and then absolutely share those moments where, yes, it feels easier in the moment to be bitter, but then when I choose the gratitude, it's healing to my mind, body, and spirit. Like it's healing on every level. So the conversation that I had with my mentor started this whole mindset of gratitude. So I want to make it very, very clear that in my situation, I didn't just wake up one day and feel grateful, feel appreciative, feel like, oh, happy, happy. Let's every teenager go through this blindness, right? This is great. I love this. I'm so appreciative for this opportunity. Absolutely did not happen. The bitterness, the anger, that felt easier. So one day when a mentor asked me to start thinking about what I was grateful for every day, my first thought was, you're not a good mentor. And no, which of course I didn't say that. I smiled and said, thank you. But in my head, that's what I was thinking. So it was only out of my stubbornness that I wanted to prove her wrong and prove her that this depressed, anxious, grieving teenage girl had nothing to be grateful for. So as I thought about each day what I was grateful for, the one day became 3 days. The 3 days became a week became a month. And what I realized was she was not defining gratitude as I was defining gratitude. Let's be happy and thankful for anything and everything and be positive and smile and be happy all the time. She was teaching me to develop a sense of gratitude, a mindset of gratitude that had me focus on what I'm grateful for, what I appreciate in the midst of life. So, a very, very practical example. She was not teaching me to wake up or in the day and say, oh gosh, I'm so thankful I navigated through the day as a blind person. She was saying at the end of the day, say, I'm so grateful to have a guide dog that helps me navigate the world. So, gratitude that I live by, that I've developed and still live by literally every single day. And I mean that very literal. It's my foundation, is my strength, and that I teach to others is that gratitude of what we have, what we are appreciative for in the midst of life. So it's not gratitude to bypass our pain, to minimize our pain, to minimize the severity of our situation. It's gratitude for what helps us get through life situations. Does that difference make sense? Of I used to think gratitude was just happy, positive, joy, joy, and covering up the pain and as a tool to bypass our pain. What I've learned is gratitude helps us acknowledge, validate, and become resilient.
Yeah, it does. It does make sense. You know, gratitude is something that you have to kind of really put effort into, feel the gratitude, and to say you have gratitude for something, right?
Yes.
You spoke a little bit about being a teacher. Um, how do you begin to see adversity as a teacher rather than something to just survive?
That is a great question. And it took me a long time to get there because I did have that mindset of this adversity is survival, and that's mentally exhausting. When I could shift that mindset, and gratitude helped me get there, and I'm not just saying that because of what I just said, I mean that very deeply, is gratitude helped shift my mindset to, yes, this adversity is really, really hard. And yes, I would not choose it. And yes, I would change and have vision tomorrow, today, this moment, if I could. Since I can't, again, what it taught me is I can control my mindset. I can control that in the midst of this adversity, I can still offer self compassion. I can still love myself. I can still choose to believe that even in the midst of this adversity, I'm enough, that I still have gifts and meaning to this world. So making that mindset shift was huge just in my daily perspective, because all of a sudden I feel like I wasn't fighting with life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Has that been your experience, and just kind of moving from survival to just that mindset of realizing I don't have to fight this all the time?
I think that's part of just being human, right? You,
Right,
you,
100%.
just waking up, you're kind of trying to push forward, and some days you're just like, man, I can't do it today. I just can't figure it out. But yeah, it's definitely there is um, a lot to learn about oneself, and to be able to try to push through adversity. And you know, some people have a hard time doing it, right? So this is kind of a not a weird question, but what is the difference between acceptance and peace in your experience?
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And you and I want to make it clear, we did not plan this out. We did not like pre talk about what we were going to, talk about specifically. What you just said was what I was thinking about as I was talking about the moving from survival. So, in my lived experience, the difference in accepting and peace, for me, getting in that mindset of gratitude led me to that place of peace, and not peace like this is the blindness is good, the blindness is what I would choose. Is the peace of, this is my lived experience, this is the reality of right now, and I'm at peace because of that self compassion. I'm at peace because I love myself again. I'm at peace because I know the anxiety is not going to swallow me, and I'm going to be anxious for the rest of my life. So it's not peace in my situation, it's peace in my response to the situation. So again, I want to make it very clear. It's not acceptance like, oh, I accept this blindness is wonderful, and I accept this blindness is just what I wanted, and it's great. And so I always want it to be that way now and forevermore. It's acceptance and peace, that I accept this is what it is. I accept my new normal, and I choose to be peaceful in my response this day, this moment.
That's a pretty good statement you said. New normal, right? That's where a lot of people tend to be like, well, here's my new normal, and this is it. Well, it, it is what it is, and you have to adapt and move forward. And everybody every once in a while has a new normal they have to live with, and they have to go through.
And also, I want to also add to that new normal. For so many years, I fought to accept, oh no, like, just kind of like I was saying, denial, and then moving past the denial. It's kind of like, oh no, but let me relate back to when I didn't have the blindness. And that's exhausting because that's what you were saying earlier about the survival, right? And when we can accept this is my new normal, there that brings a sense of peace. That brings a sense of ease of I don't have to fight to be what I used to be. This is what it is now. Again, it's not saying we want it, we like it. It's just accepting the peace of how we respond.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you definitely you can't fight it, right? It's that
Right.
some things in life, your new normal is something you can't fight. You have to adapt and overcome and be able to make those changes. You know, it's easy for me sitting in this chair having this conversation with you, but looking at how much you've had to overcome, it's kind of crazy.
And even when it's not, you still have the choice. I still have the choice. And that's the gift. That's the gift that even when it is fixable or not fixable, we have the choice of how we're going to deal with it, how we're going to respond to it. Because I've learned even when things are fixable, we still can be negative and victim and whine and complain constantly. Of course, we're always going to have those moments, but we also can stay in that bitterness even when it's fixable, right? So it's like in every situation, the gift is the choice of how we respond.
Well, you made a statement there, fixable, right? Everything that breaks has to get fixed, and everything that you fix might break again.
And that's a perfect point. Thank you for saying that. It's not like we fix it and then it's fixed for the rest of our life. Right. And so, what I mean by that on a real world example, it's not like, oh, okay, today I don't have as much anxiety as yesterday. So, my anxiety is better for the rest of my life. I fix this anxiety thing. I can move on. I'll never have another panic attack. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought that up. When we feel like we quote fixed it or gotten better, we feel like it's going to stay that way forever. And you're right, it's gonna it's gonna break again sometime in the future, right? And that's just part of life. That's just what you were saying in the earlier beginning of our conversation is part of the human experience.
Exactly. It's like Ron Popeil, and you set it and forget it. That's not how that works in life. I wish it was.
It was, right? I totally wish it was. Like, okay, this anxiety is set, forget it, move on, right? I absolutely wish it was. But the ebbs and flow, and that's part of the healing that I experienced. It again took me a while to realize I thought healing was linear, right? Like I thought it was like, okay, my anxiety is better today, so it'll always be better. And then it wasn't. It was like, what did I do wrong? And so that's the gift that you and I are giving, and the takeaway for everyone listening. It's okay that there are ups and downs and ebbs and flows in your healing and working through the adversity. It's not you, it's not something wrong with you. It's just part of life and part of our experience.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. How has blindness shaped your definition of a life well lived?
It has shaped my definition because it's put everything in perspective. It has put life, and when I say everything, I just mean it has put what is important in life, it's put that in perspective. So remember that the book that was so popular a while back, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, is really taught me that is so true. Where before it was like, oh, okay, whatever, but I still sweat. We all still do, right? So blindness has taught me that the things that we think are so important are really not that important. And what I've learned is important is developing and living in that self-compassion and learning and developing to live in that self-love, to learn to respect myself and respect others, and not to be so quick both to judge myself and judge others. And so again, to just put that in perspective. Normally, where I'm so quick to be harsh on myself and judge myself, Why did I think that? Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're going there again. Just offer myself that self compassion and just realize this situation, the circumstance is hard. Give yourself grace, give yourself that space to breathe, to process the situation, and to just choose to move forward with not so much critical judgment, but love and self-compassion. And then that's the same for true for others. When I make such a quick instant judgment, why did she say that? Why did he do that? Step back and look at the situation. You may or may not know everything that's going on in their life and why they're responding a certain way. So rather than jumping to instant judgment, offer them the same compassion you offer yourself. So I say all that to say blindness has taught me to offer that compassion to myself and to the people that I interact with. And that is an incredible gift because it puts everything in perspective.
So, how did you redefine what was possible for you?
How I redefined what's possible is focusing more on my mindset than specific goals. And what I mean by that is focusing on, again, I keep growing back because it all circles back. Focusing more on that self compassion, that self love to then fuel me into the future of what I wanted to do and what I wanted, who I wanted to be in this world, rather than focusing, oh, it's possible, and just focusing on the outward circumstances rather than naming all those and that being my guide, allowing my mindset of self compassion, of self confidence, of self love focus on what's possible. And that gave me the energy, that gave me the passion, that gave me the energy to just focus on what is physically possible.
Yeah. So, I thought I seen in your bio, did you go to Princeton?
Yes.
So, what did you go to school for at Princeton?
So that was my master's. So immediately after the undergrad, I went to Princeton to get a master's in theology. And that was such an amazing experience. And talking about what's possible, that I can give a great illustration because I was the first person to go through the Master of Divinity program who was blind. And why I say that was a great opportunity in showing me and showing off as what's possible. While I was the first, they were willing and open to work with me and make accommodations. They just needed me to clearly communicate what I needed and why I needed it. And so it was an incredible opportunity to grow in my self compassion, my self love, my self confidence, because I had to know my needs and then clearly communicate those needs to the professors. So, for example, I had to say, I need my textbooks in PDF format rather than print format because obviously I can't see to read the print. So I need the books in PDF format on the computer so I can read it just like everyone else, but rather than print on the computer. So for me to learn that, to learn those needs and communicate those needs effectively was a huge experience in growth and self confidence. So, not in a demanding way, this is what I need, give it to me, but rather say, this is what I need, this is why I need it. Can you meet that need? And that's why I say it was such a huge opportunity in showing me what's possible. Because again, it all circles back to that self compassion. It taught me that over those 3 years, I could have the strength to believe in myself enough to ask for what I need and trust that it would be provided.
Taking a quick pause here. If this episode is resonating, I would love for you to follow the No One is Normal podcast on whatever platform you listen on. Every follow helps this show reach people who might need these stories. Now let's jump back in. I've never used Braille, so is it fairly easy to learn, or is it kind of like learning another language?
It's definitely like learning another language. Learning Braille was very difficult for me because I was learning it in high school as a high schooler, trying to instantly jump from learning ABC and Braille to then learning, and I mean this literally, I'm not trying to be funny, learning Spanish, reading Spanish in Braille. And remember, I'm a girl from the Southeast, so Spanish and Braille would be impossible. We're doing good at the English. So yes, learning Braille was very, very difficult because when I was learning it, how I was having to use it, the hardest part, and what I want everyone to hear is, again, that circles back to choice. I had the choice. How was I going to respond? This is too hard. This is impossible. I can't. I give up. I'm going to be bitter the rest of my life. Or to choose to say, this is really hard. I feel like I can't in this moment. This is way too overwhelming. What can I do in this next moment to accomplish this goal? And so again, it all circles back to that self-compassion, that self-love, that believing in ourselves. So I want everyone to hear, regardless of the situation, of how you're defining your situation, how big or small it is, it doesn't matter. The power is in the choice, and the power is in our response.
So you learned reading, writing, and then you learned Braille, and then you learned Braille and Spanish. That's
So
pretty
again,
impressive.
that goes back to what you were saying about, how what's possible, what's not possible. That seems totally impossible. And yet it is when you try to tackle it all and approach it all in one situation. And so that's where the grit and the gratitude comes in of, okay, what can I control? What is possible for this day, for this hour, for this class? So that's a lesson for all of us in our situation. It's so easy to get overwhelmed with the magnitude of what we have to do, what we have to accomplish, what we have to overcome. And what we can accomplish and do and achieve is that very moment. What is manageable for this moment, this situation?
What is the smallest courageous action someone can start taking today?
So it's both a small action, and it's a small action, but it feels huge when we start to implement it. And it's validating our situation. And the reason I say that, because in my circumstances, in the circumstances of the people I work with, we want to jump from, this is the change, this is the adversity I'm experiencing. Okay, no, let's get to the end of the story. Let's get to the healing. Let's get to the moving on. Let's get into the getting through this. How do I move forward? What we do not take the time to do in the very beginning, in that first step, small step, is sit and validate our experience. And what that looks like is validating, this is really, really hard. I didn't expect this. I didn't know this was coming. I didn't know I'd have to deal with this. I didn't know I would face this. This is hard. This is making me angry. This is making me depressed. Whatever that emotion is, validating it. And once we validate it, then that gives us the power to do something about it. So when we jump from the change we're experiencing to let's jump to the end of the story, we're not validating the emotion that then gives us the power to move forward.
And you're also not breaking it down into manageable steps too, right?
Right. 100%. 100%. You said it perfectly.
When someone says they're not brave enough, what do you hear underneath that?
I don't trust myself, because that's what I was doing. I'm speaking only from my own experience. When I was thinking I'm not brave enough, I'm not strong enough, what I was saying underneath that was, I don't know that I trust myself to navigate through this anxiety and this level of depression, this level of grief. I was not trusting myself. I wasn't loving myself. Once I turned to that self-love, that self-trust, that bravery, I didn't even think, am I brave? Am I not brave? It was just, I trust myself, so I know I can. I love myself, so I know I can. I had that self-compassion, so I love that myself. I honestly didn't I no longer thought, "Am I brave or am I not?" It was just, I trust myself, I can move forward.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people tend to have that self doubt, and you, you're not taking chances in life sometimes, and that is a very dangerous thing to do when you're trying to um, become who you want to be.
Yes, yes. And I wanna make it clear, just like we talked about earlier, that bravery, that self-trust is not just one magical decision. It's choosing that self-trust every day. So again, it's not that I chose once to trust myself and then I trust myself for the next rest of my life, right? 10, 20, 30, 40, whatever years. It's that I choose that self trust every day. And there are days when it's like, I don't know, can I trust myself? So again, just like we talked about those ebbs and flows, that's just going to happen in the course of our life. So I say that to say, don't beat yourself up. Don't judge yourself. Don't think you're weak, that you're not brave when you have those moments of doubting yourself, of feeling that lack of self love, lack of self trust. It's not you're weak. It's not you did something wrong. That's just part of life. We're not going to feel every single moment that fuzzy. I trust myself. This is fuzzy and wonderful and feels so good and easy and kumbaya. Like, self trust is really, really hard to trust yourself in the midst of the depression, in the midst of the anger.
Yeah, sometimes that's hard to even get out of. Like once you fall into that rut, it just seems like you're stuck there, and you really got to work at it to get yourself out of it.
It feels impossible, right? And so getting yourself out of it, that's incredible strength. That's incredible bravery.
Yeah, it's only temporary, right? I mean, eventually this too shall pass, right? It's a great
Right.
saying.
Right.
What opportunity do people miss when facing adversity?
The opportunity to deepen their self love. And what I mean by that very specifically is to know and believe they are enough. That's so easy to miss in the middle of adversity.
A lot of people struggle with that. That self-love is probably the one of the hardest things. It's easy to love outward, but to love inward, you really have to work at it.
And it's a daily process, right? I love how you say you have to work at it, not just work on it, right? Like, you have to work at it. It means it's a constant process.
So for you and kind of your boundaries, how do you know when to let go and to when to push harder?
Ah, that is a great question. A work in progress. As a type A person, I want to push on everything. And it's like, yeah, when do you learn to let go? The honest answer is when I find myself going down that path of the depression is getting deeper, the anxiety is getting worse. Those are signals to me you're pushing too hard. You're not stopping to validate the pain and deal with the pain, deal with the feelings. And so you need to stop and validate what you're feeling. And so then you're not always pushing, 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 pushing. It's easier just to let go and trust yourself and remain in that self love rather than the pushing, the fighting.
Yeah, no, I agree. In what ways has blindness expanded your life?
I know I'm saying this over and over and over, but it's expanded my life because it's expanded my perception of what's important in life, what matters in life, and it 100% has expanded that self-love. I thought self-love was based on achievements, how other people liked me, thought of me. I thought that was the root of our self-love. Um, Blindness has expanded my perspective to show me that self love is based on our knowing that we're worthy, knowing that we're each enough.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Um, How do you stay grounded when new challenges arise?
The gratitude keeps me grounded. And again, it's not gratitude like, this is great. I'm thankful for this situation. This just arose and I had no clue it's going to come. So I'm so positive. It's grounding like, okay, this situation is hard. I didn't expect this, or maybe I did assume it was coming, but it's still really, really hard. It's still hurtful. It still makes me angry. And I'm grateful that I can pick up the phone and call that friend and she'll just listen. She's not going to try to solve the problem or give me a million things to do or tell me to be strong. She's just going to listen and hold the space. I'm thankful that I do have that self love that I can tap into, and depend on in the midst of these circumstances. So it's gratitude of depending on that self love and also that support system that I depend on, the family, the friends around me.
Let's kind of talk about that a little bit. What role did community play in your journey?
Oh, community is the reason I'm here today. And I mean that very, very literal. I don't mean that as a cliche, like, oh, community is the reason I'm here today, as a cute, like, Hallmark card, right? I mean that very literal. It was the community that believed in me when I did not have the strength to move forward. It was the community that said to me through their actions, you are still you, you are still worthy, you still have meaning and purpose, when I didn't think I had meaning and purpose in this world.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is having people that support you through your struggles, and that for me took a little bit because I had the habit of kind of pushing people away when I was struggling. I don't know
Right.
if you had that,
Oh,
where you're just
yes.
like, just leave me alone.
Yep. Yeah. Because it's easier to say, like, just leave me alone. You don't get it. Like, what are you doing over there telling me I'm being a purpose? You hadn't just become blind as a teenager, right? Like, come on, mom and dad. That's easy for you to say. You're not a teenager right now going blind, right? Yeah, it's so, I'm glad you said that. Thank you for saying that, because it's so easy to push them away. And I absolutely did. And the gift was they just kept being themselves and being, and I was getting ready to say saying, but really it wasn't through their words. It was just through their presence, through their actions, that I realized, yeah, I can push them away. I can just say, leave me alone. But that's just making the depression and anxiety worse. Maybe if I start to kind of sort of listen to them, maybe they know what they're talking about. So again, it was those little moments of listening to them that led up into the listening to them. There wasn't one big magical moment where I said, oh, gee, support system, thank you. And I'll listen to you all the time now.
It's like that friend saying, "Hey, you should take up skydiving." Well, yeah, that'd be great, but my seeing eye dog's probably going to be pretty scared.
Right, 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 right.
How did spirituality shift as your sight changed?
So spirituality shift from being, oh, spirit is out there, up there, over there, somewhere, somewhere there in the distance, to I'm a beloved creation. I'm a beloved creation that is receiving that love and experiencing that love and peace, not because of my circumstances, but because of the fact that I'm worthy, that I matter. So, spirituality, again, wasn't just something distant, it became something personal, relational, practical that I experienced on a day to day basis, not just when I needed it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm more spiritual than I am religious.
Because spirituality gives us that gift of connection, and not a direct connection to, connecting to this or connection to that, just connection to nature, to animals, to other humans. For me, it just gives that grounding.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Is that Has that been what it's been for you? Just that sense of connection, that sense of belonging. Has that been your experience?
absolutely. I think that's more of like Religion kind of focuses on humans.
Yes, I totally agree. And just recognizing the good and the beauty in nature, the good and the beauty in animals, in creation.
What would you say to someone whose life is changing faster than they can process it?
Trust that you're enough. And I want to make it very clear. I'm not saying that in again, that cliche, oh, trust that you're enough. Like, look at all your accomplishments. Not trust that you're enough based on who you are, what you've done, what you've accomplished. Trust that you're enough because you're here. Trust that you're enough because you're creation. So trusting that we're enough in the midst of going through any type of change, regardless of what that change is our anchor that gives us strength to keep going. Because when we know we're enough, we know that we're worthy of continuing forward, even in the midst of change. That's a message we don't hear because we're enough based on our accomplishments.
Oh yeah.
And so we feel like in the midst of change, we lose just our sense of normalcy, our sense of who we are, our sense of how we think, not just how we think, how the world does function. And so to be reminded that we're enough in the midst of change gives us that foundation. It gives us that security.
What truth took you the longest to accept?
That exact truth. What I just said, I am enough.
I think more people need to say that introspectively.
Yes, 100%. Because as you were saying earlier about self love, it's so hard to accept, right? To know that we're enough takes so much work and it takes so much trust. So that was definitely the hardest truth to realize, to believe. Again, kind of like we were talking about, receiving other support. When someone would say that to me for so long, it's like, oh, please, just an eye roll, like, oh, easy for you to say that about me. But then starting to receive it is a game changer.
That's kind of the one thing. I don't know about you, but I know for myself, when somebody compliments me, I don't really take it, like I kind of brush off like, oh yeah, okay, and
Dismiss it,
I
right?
just dismiss it, and it's so hard for me to accept a compliment. And I think my wife's probably a little like, oh, I complimented you, well, thank you, but it's like it's still hard for me to sometimes accept the compliments and to have that. I still have that self doubt and everything else. It's tough,
And
you
that's
know.
not just you. I can honestly say that is me and every single person. I've yet to work with the person or even meet someone that's like is good at receiving compliments. Because it's like you said, it's so easy to brush it away, dismiss it. And I can say that's what I work with people the most on is once they're through that immediate survival of their adversity, the next step that we spend the longest time on is learning it's okay and it's good to receive compliments because we feel like that's arrogant, right? Like, or we feel like you said, that self doubt, like I'm not good enough to receive that. Like, don't really say it. Don't make me receive it. But when we get to that place of receiving it, it's a source of healing, right? It's a source of foundation, a source of bravery.
Just taking that little bit of a hey, good job, and you're like, man, just dismiss it and go on to the next thing. That is really kind of harming yourself, you know.
Um, because it's saying, I don't love myself. I don't believe that about myself.
What does it mean to harness courage in everyday life?
Again, choice. Harnessing courage in life for me, I've learned means I have to choose to harness that courage, that it's not just going to magically ta-da come, right? Like the courage and being courageous is not just going to magically appear each day, or it's not even through like just pure just pushing through again, how I used to define resiliency. It's choosing to harness that courage. And again, what I mean by courage is that resiliency, sitting in the pain, acknowledging the pain, and then choosing to move forward moment by moment, step by step by step. And again, it's not linear. I wish it was. I wish that courage was, I could choose it now, and then I would harness it every single day. But it's choosing it even when I feel like I don't have enough strength, or when I am being that judgy, critical voice mindset. So it's choosing to have that courage moment by moment when I feel like I have the strength, when I feel like I don't have the strength. And even when in the midst of life, in the midst of a day, it's not going to be linear. It's definitely going to be back and forth.
Yeah, I liken it to like a sine wave. It's got its ups and downs, and it's
Right.
never going to be consistent, never going to be the same, right? You'll
Right.
have the goods and the bads, and you just got to remember for the bads, you got to get back to the goods, right?
To get back to good. Yes. And when we have those moments, both good and bad, even in those bad moments, it doesn't mean that we're doing something wrong. Right? For so long, it's like, oh wow, if I don't have a good day, it's my fault, right? No, that's just life. That's just called being human. So just to give that gift to everyone listening, take the pressure off yourself. When you have those zigzaggy up and down roller coaster moments, that's just being human. It's not you doing something wrong or you being bad.
So, speaking of that, if someone listening feels connected to your story and wants to explore your work, where should they start?
Definitely my website, laurabratton.com, has all the information on the speaking, the coaching, connecting, reading my book. Just all the information is there. And yes, I would love to connect, love to hear about how gratitude and how courage has been a part of your life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can learn a lot from your story. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for this platform and just having this conversation.
Yeah, it was great. I appreciate it. Some courage isn't loud, it's repeated. Growth often looks like choosing again, especially on the days when doubt feels stronger than certainty. Listening to Laura, I'm reminded how difficult it is to fully understand someone else's daily reality. Moving through a world built for sight while building confidence, education, and purpose inside, it requires a level of presence most of us rarely consider. It challenges easy complaints. It invites perspective without dismissing our own struggles. If this episode spoke to you, it may be because change rarely asks for permission. It asks for presence. And sometimes the most powerful shift is remembering that worthiness was never dependent on circumstances in the first place. To learn more about Laura's work on resilience and gratitude, visit laurabratton.com. Just a reminder, the stories and conversations in this podcast are for informational and personal reflection only. Nothing shared here should be taken as medical, legal, or professional advice. Always speak with a qualified professional about your own personal situation. Thank you for listening to No One Is Normal. If today's message resonated with you, you can find the book No One Is Normal on Amazon and Kindle, and explore more resources at www.bradhill.com or www.nooneisnormal.co. Remember, you weren't meant to be normal, you were meant to be you.